folks, Ty Cohen here from KindleCashflow.com, and today I'm super excited because not only do I have someone that I've had the pleasure of knowing for a while, but we're going to talk about a subject that I'm passionate about, something that actually got me started with marketing, and that is copywriting. Copywriting is something that, I talked about this before. It's something that every single author or writer or publisher, or even if you're a poet, you should have at least some basic understanding of it, because it's going to help you to do a lot. It's going to help you to sell more. It's going to help you to attract more readers. It's going to help you to retain your readers. It's just going to help you make more money, which is one of my favorite things there. But there's just so much more that you can use. Listen, I've used copywriting to actually get my wife to marry me. Right? So if you want to hear about that and how you can use the copywriting to do some really cool things in your life, then pay attention, because I have none other than the great Lorrie Morgan. So Lorrie of Red Hot Copy is an award-winning direct response, that's the key phrase there, copywriter and speaker, right? There's copywriting and then there's direct response copywriting, which we'll get into. And then after almost 20 years in her industry, she's also a copywriting trailblazer, okay? Particularly when it comes to selling to women. Her background in journalism and acting, I didn't know about that, have enhanced her writing career, all right? They've been a perfect storm for the deep research, empathy, and rapport that writing sales copy needs. So when she's not writing, she's usually living out her Western fantasies by riding her horses, feeding chickens, or shooting competitively. Very, very interesting. Laurie, welcome to Kindle Cashflow TV. You've got a pretty interesting set of hobbies there. And the fact that you have direct copywriting as part of your write-up here is just something that really, really thrills me. So I can't wait to jump into this. Good to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here too. It's nice to finally just have just some one-on-one tie time. It's not easy to get you, and you're running an empire, You
know what? It's pretty interesting that you say that, because it's been fun. It's been a very good time. We've got a great community, as you know of, but I want to make this all about you. So how did you get into copywriting? Let's talk about that. What's your background like, and how did, what was the first thing that attracted you to copywriting?
Was really because I wanted to stay home with my kids and raise my kids. That's what it started. And I didn't know copywriting would be the answer. I had no idea what copywriting even was. So I have to rewind you back to when I was in North Carolina, where I think you and I met, possibly, or Arizona, but where you live in North Carolina. So yeah, I know I've seen you there. But I went to college at Chapel Hill and I studied journalism, but I always wanted to be an actress. My parents were like, no, you're not going to get a degree in acting. That's stupid. So I said, fine, I'll get a degree in journalism. And then as soon as I graduated, I hightailed it off to California, which is where I live now, to be an actress. And I'm a terrible actress, by the way. I really am. But I ended up being a waitress and getting married and having 2 sons. And I was a stay-at-home mom, which was great until I got divorced. And then I had to go to work in the corporate world, and I missed my kids. I had been used to spending every day with them and doing all kinds of stuff. And so this was like the mid-90s when the internet was becoming, really common. And so I realized I can write. Why can't I write from home and make some kind of a business that way? And so I was working for a marketing firm as a secretary, an executive assistant, if you will. And my boss retired, and so I decided I'm not going to get another job. I'm going to figure out how to work from home. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I was kind of being a virtual assistant because I knew how to be a secretary, and I knew how to organize and write and stuff like that. And I started getting PR clients and doing press releases and things like that. And then I kind of stumbled onto copywriting when a client came to me and said, I want you to write 52 autoresponders for me. I'm like, what is an autoresponder? Yeah. And so that was my introduction into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. Where has this been my whole life? Because it's informal, it's not real stiff, it's conversational. And I just fell in love with it. So I just focused on how am I going to get good at this? And this was in the early 2000s when the industry was much more like the wild, wild west back then, I guess. You know, it was all new, the internet was exploding, and there wasn't really a place to learn how to write copy. So I had to sift through and learn a lot of it myself. I ended up hiring John Carlton to be my mentor. I worked with Gary Halbert. Some people know Gary, and Dan Kennedy. And Dan and I actually made a product later on how to run a copywriting business.
Very cool.
I
Wow.
just started hanging out with the gurus and the masters and taking their courses and getting really good. And I started making a name for myself that way. But I think it's a really fun genre, like I said, because I think just about anybody can do it. With just a few, you may not be great, but you're going to be proficient. And like you said, for the authors, it's really, really a critical skill to have, is you need copy surrounding your whole little copy, your whole writing empire. You're gonna need to write a lot of copy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about some of that in just a second. But you know, one of the things that for people that are not aware of what copywriting is, right? I'm gonna give you a chance to kind of explain that. But I'm gonna, if you're watching this, when I first got turned on to copywriting, and for me, I fell in love with the art of it being a little bit of, you know, persuasion influenced, and then there's the psychology behind it, right? So getting words to fall into place and people actually responding off of that, right? So buying or clicking a button or asking for more information because of what you've put on this page or on your site or whatever it may be, or on the back of your book cover. For me, that was the most thrilling part right there. And, you know, I went on to learn from a lot of the guys that you mentioned, the Gary Halberts, the Dan Kennedys, the John Carltons, the Gary Benz-Babinga, you know, he's had his Gary Benz-Babinga bullets and things like that. So really cool. So now, before we continue to geek out about what copywriting is, why don't you explain to everyone that's actually watching what copywriting is?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because like I said, I'd never heard of it, although I'd seen it everywhere, right? Because you see it on packages, on commercials and all that. So the technical kind of accepted definition is that copy is salesmanship in print. So it kind of replicates your sales message, because you see it, you write it one time, and then you have all these different avenues to expand on, right? So it can be on the internet, it can be by mail, it can be on the radio or on podcasts, on television, but whatever your sales message is, that's what the copy is. It's the words that get people to do stuff. Like I was just at your Kindle workshop.
Kindle Live. You were in Vegas.
Yeah, I was in Vegas, exactly. Right. Because I read your copy.
Awesome.
You didn't call me and say, hey, whoa, why don't you come over? I read your copy and I'm like, this is for me. Because I got excited about it. It's a very powerful, powerful skill to have.
It is. It's amazing. And it's super addictive. It's fun. That's what I was getting at earlier. Once you start to really delve into like copywriting, it is very fun. You want to know more and more about it. You want to get better at it. And you just want to really like hone your skills. So let me ask you, so for the author, because we have a variety of people that watch, right? We have people that may be an author and they're passionate about writing. We have some people that are publishing books on Kindle because it's a way for them to generate income. We have people that are digital content publishers. They're publishing just outside of Kindle. So like publishing content to their own sites. It might be ebooks. It might be any type of digital content, audio. It might be courses. We have people that are traditional print book authors, right? And publishers. So what are some of the skills and areas that people who fall under those categories can use copywriting for? What are some of the things that they can do when they learn?
But you mentioned books, and I know there's digital books too. There's Kindle, and then there's books, you know, that you have in your library. So you're going to have the back cover copy. Like the cover is important to graphics, but then they want to read about what they're going to read about. Right. So you have to kind of sell them to open up your book, to buy your book.
So we're talking about front cover first, right? They're looking at the front cover first?
Yes, the front cover too, exactly.
Okay. So let's look at the front cover, right? So let's say front cover. I've got Think and Grow Rich here. right?
Okay.
So we've got
Right.
we have the title, but can someone go in and add some additional copies somewhere here on the front cover? What's your suggestion?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want it. It depends on the graphic appeal and stuff, but there are, yeah, you can add like little small copy, little calls to action. If you have an email list that you're collecting names, and you should, then maybe have say, visit my website or something to get them to do something, whatever it is that is. Maybe download a free lead magnet, something that is exciting to them. Or contests. There's all kinds of different things just to get them to take action. It's kind of like, you're pulling the puppet strings there. You're telling them what you want them to do. And
that's a great way of putting it. Exactly. You're leading them.
You're leading them. And what's cool about doing it on the cover is they don't even have to buy your book, and they might go and do something that you have on the cover that you're telling them to do.
Very cool. So you could have, hey, you'll get a bonus, right? You'll get the audio component to this book when you join us at www.kindlecashflow.com or whatever it may be. So here, just looking at this book here, I noticed that there's a little blurb here that says, for men and women who resent poverty, right? So I don't know if you could see that or not, right? But I thought that was pretty cool, because that can be like, it's not necessarily a call to action, but it is a statement that might resonate with some. If you're looking at the book and you're thinking about buying it, and you see that for men and women who resent poverty, and you're like, well, I definitely don't embrace poverty, so maybe this might be right. So
it's like, you know what it is? It's like a clarion call. It's like, these are my people. My people are reading this book. I'm one of them. This book is for me. So it's inclusive to say that.
Yes, very cool. I like that. So now we move on to the back cover. What's your suggestion for the back cover? Well, you've got a lot of landscape here. There's a lot that they could do on the back cover here, right? So
absolutely.
What are your tips there?
Well, you want to be, now this is a self-help book, and nonfiction, let's just talk about nonfiction first. Fiction's a little different. You're going to want a synopsis of your story. But with nonfiction, when you're trying to help somebody, you have benefits. So what are the benefits of reading that book? And you need to make them exciting, and not just throw in a bunch of adjectives, but to kind of use visual language. If you can come up with language that people can use their senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. If you can work that kind of stuff in, then people are going to have a more visceral reaction to your copy. They're going to feel it. And when they feel your copy, that's when they start actually taking action. And that's a little more advanced, I'll be honest. But if just start for now, to focus on being benefit oriented and what's in it for them. It's not like, I am this, I am that, I do this. It's like, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. It's a lot of you, a lot of that'll help keep it benefit oriented.
So stroking their ego a lot, right? This is what you're going to get.
It's their ego, right? Not yours. Now, it's okay to have a little bio at the bottom. That's okay. But you want, like you said, there's a lot of landscape back there. So use that to your advantage to get them knowing what's in it for them. That's what people like to hear. What's in it for me?
Right. You bring up a really good point, because when I first got started with publishing, and I think a lot of authors make this mistake, we try to include our credentials and who we are and why we're so smart and why we're the expert and why you should buy the book. And I fell into that as well, right? And then it wasn't until I got a little bit more knowledgeable about copywriting where I started to change that, and I'm talking to the reader as to, again, the benefits, right? Why this will help them, why this is the book for them. And I started to see an increase in my sales, right? So super smart, super smart. I'm glad you brought that up there. All right, so what else? We got benefits, benefit driven, visual, using that language that they can actually feel, they can sense it, they can touch it. It puts them in the zone right there. They know that this is for them without a doubt. You're talking to them. What else? I love that.
What else? So you want to also use, forget all your English classes. You want to use short sentences and using words that we say normally, face-to-face, stuff that's in your everyday vocabulary. It can sound really simple and boring and common, but this is not the place to show off your vocabulary. This is where you want to be. You want to have a conversation with the person reading your book. And in fact, that's one of the things that I teach in my copywriting courses is how to create what I call a target. So you have your target market. It's the people that you want to sell to, the group that you want to sell to, like say, let's say horse owners. So you want to sell to horse owners. That's great. Now I want to sell to, when I'm writing my copy though, I'm going to talk to one horse owner, one-to-one, just me and you. It's not like this whole group of people that I'm talking to at the barn. It's one single person, and what is her pain, and what is her what does she need, and how can I be the solution for what it is that she needs. So right, like one-to-one, imagine a person and doing, the avatar research of what that person is, how much income they have, what they do every day, what their life is like. And if you have an ideal client, or even it can be a real person or it can be a made-up person, it doesn't matter. But if you write to a single person, like you're having a conversation like you and I are talking right now, it's going to come across so much more relaxed and connecting, instead of like trying to have these really long rambling sentences. You want to keep them short. And even if they're not, going to pass your English teacher's class, it's okay. They can be fragments, sentence fragments. You can start with and, you can start with but. All the stuff that they told you can't do, you can. It's because that's how we talk.
Right. And people, you're right. They make that connection, right? So people really feel as if, I think what you said as far as speaking, like imagining as if you're talking to someone one-on-one is so key, because people, we have this energy, like we can really connect to one another. And Joe Vitale, I remember hearing something from him, and he said when he's writing a sales letter, he's writing it in the way as if he said exactly what you just said pretty much. He's writing it to one person, even though the sales letter may go out to millions of people.
Right.
And what he kind of said was, because that energy, he wants that energy to transfer from the sales letter to that person. And so I think that what you're saying is brilliant, right? And to not just be perfect with it, right? Like just speak in the way that you normally would in a conversation. So for a lot of authors, I know that would probably be something that is going to break their heart, but
it's painful.
It's painful. It's probably as painful as it is for me to write properly. But it works. Like, the numbers don't lie. So test it out, try it out, and then see what your sales numbers say about it. And then you make a decision from there. All right. So, now you talk about, I want to go back for a second. You talk about avatar, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for the person that's unfamiliar with that term, what's an avatar and why is an avatar so important?
So thank you for bringing that up, because I did just kind of gloss right over avatar. So when I started learning how to write copy, I had never heard of avatar. And that's why I created what I've talked to you about, what I call a target, because I thought, wow, if I write to one single person, and this person has certain qualities, then I'm going to make a connection. And I called it a target because instead of a target market, it's a single person out of your target market. Then I find out later, oh my gosh, people are doing the same thing, and then they call in them avatars. Or personas. Companies will also do personas. It's the same thing. So an avatar is kind of like a character study of your ideal client. And so when you look at there's not many magazines out anymore, but when you look at, pick up like a golf magazine or Cosmo or something, and in there they have a bunch of data about who their readership is, right? And it's the media kit. It is for their advertisers, but they've done all this research for you. So it's kind of like figuring out who your target market is, and finding out, like their stats about them, like their income level, where they live, how many children they have. Are their children grown? Are they taking care of their parents or, their grandparents? And so you really get, the deeper you go, the more information you have, the more this avatar kind of comes to life like a real person. And that's when it's easier to have a conversation with that person. So that's what your avatar is.
Very cool. And you know what, you brought up a really good point with, especially if you're going in the nonfiction direction, right? You can go in and you look at magazines. Let's say if you've got a book on golfing, you go in and you pick up one of the major golf magazines, you look at their media kit, and they have all of the demographic information there for you.
That's right.
And just going in and studying that and then being able to write directly to that person, that's brilliant right there.
Yeah. If I can just say, but I tell people to go to magazine.com or magazines.com.
Yep.
And every magazine that's currently out on the bookshelf or wherever they sell magazines now, on the newsstands this month is there. And you can see like what topics that target market is interested in. And they have a magazine for everything, for quilting, for shooting, for anything you can think of. So it is a really good resource, and they have done a lot of research for you. So it's a good place to start.
Very cool. And you've got these $1 million companies, and sometimes even bigger, that have put the money into doing the research and figuring out who that avatar is, and then you go in and use that to your advantage. And we love advantages here at kindlecastle.com. So there you go. So Laurie's giving you guys a few nuggets here. She's giving you some really cool stuff, like just being able to take that target market and being able to craft your message to them. So Lorrie, we've talked about benefits, which I think is amazing, right? Having those benefits and using that to sell your reader. We talked about being able to go in and figure out who your avatar is. I think everyone should have that. That's something that you don't learn in like author 101 or publishing 101, right? They teach you how to write, and that's pretty much it. The marketing side of things are not there, which is why a lot of authors and writers and publishers, they fail at the marketing side. But what you were giving here are some true nuggets here. So folks, this is it. So now let's talk about, I'm looking at your sheet here. You've got a few things, right? So you're talking about using copy and your author's description. How could someone go in and use copy in like their author's description or on their opt-in page or their lead magnet? You care to talk about some of that stuff there?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that you want to do is, like you were talking about, it's really cool to tell them about your credentials. That's great. You have awards, you have certain education, or you've done something, some things that are noteworthy, then yeah, definitely tell them that. But also, because we're wanting to be personal with our readers, don't be afraid to tell them about your hobbies or that's why I told you about my stuff, right? Like my feeding the chickens and my country life and all that.
Yeah.
Because I want to be more real to the people who are watching, instead of some, hoity-toity, uptight person that's unapproachable. I want to be approachable. So I think decide what kind of a reputation, I guess, you want to have. Everybody may not want to be approachable. Maybe you do want to be a hoity-toity person if you're like if you're a professor or something and you want to be respected. It's nothing wrong with that. But do remember, at the end of the day, it's actual people reading your bio. So you do want to keep it with the same kind of copy skills I was talking about. Short sentences. Don't flaunt your vocabulary. Be personable and act as if you are talking to somebody. You're talking to somebody that you met at a cocktail party and telling them about yourself. So those kinds of things will make your bio a lot more interesting. And people do read, like even on your about page, when you have a website, when you go to your about page, that's one of the first places that people will go to find out what you're all about. And they don't want to just see like a bunch of, a bullet list of all your education. They want to know, what's your life? What's the flavor going on? Who are you?
How do we connect, right? How do we, when I read your write-up there, you said that some of your hobbies are horseback riding, and then competitive shooting. When I saw competitive shooting, me and my wife, we went out and we did some skeet shooting a couple months ago.
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, she was my butt in it, right? Hopefully she doesn't watch this, but I instantly thought of that, right? Even though they're different, like competitive shooting and skeet. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, she's cool. Like like you don't even make that connection, but it happens subconsciously. So, and I think that for anyone, especially if you're like a fiction writer, that you go in and you include a little bit of your life, your story, your likes, and into who you are, your author page and your About Us page if you have a site, because it totally builds that bond, and people will buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So they have to get to know you. And then once they get to know, like I've already liked Lorrie, but once I found out that now, right, she's got this competitive shooting thing going on, like I like her even more now. Right? So they have to know you, and they get to know you by getting a glimpse into your life. They have to get to like you by giving them a glimpse that gets them to like you even more so, because they may not even be doing the same thing that you're doing, but there may be an interest in doing it. Right? So you make that connection there. So very, very cool. So now, what else do you have, Laurie? I'm excited. I'm going to let you talk. What else we got? We're talking about copywriting.
I only have 20 years of education here. There's so much. There's so much. I have, what else do I have for you? Like, a lot of people freak out about writing copy because it's different than writing a book. It is a different tone. It very much is. But if you start out with benefits, you keep that in mind. Keep in mind that you're talking to a single person when you're writing your copy. And then some people are more auditory. They like to talk instead of writing. Or maybe they like to do both, like you, Ty. I'm not sure which one you prefer, but I know you left me some like voice messages on Facebook. I know that it's like faster to do audio. That's
just trying to be a little bit quick. That's it.
There you go. But that's also a good way to start your copy, like, is to record stuff in a voice memo or something about what your product is, what you're writing about, because hopefully whatever you're writing about, you're excited about, especially if it's your own business. Like, I'm a gun for hire, so I may not be as excited about some copy that I am about others.
Right.
This is your business. You better be excited about it.
Hopefully, if you're not excited, how the heck are you going to expect other people to be excited, right?
That's right. Exactly. So you can actually record yourself explaining who you are, what you do, and just don't limit yourself to how much time or whatever, and then go to, I guess, rev.com charges like a penny a word or something like that to get it transcribed.
Yeah.
Or transcribe it yourself if you want, but we're working on speed here, so just pay somebody. It's going to be $5 and have them transcribe it, and then go through and edit it and see what you said and how you positioned your words. You'll notice you're probably not talking in these long sentences. And then once you do write your copy, read it out loud for the same reason, because when people are reading your copy, they often read it in their heads. And so if there's punctuation, they're going to stop mentally. A lot of people don't know this actually, but you'll stop at a comma, or you'll stop at a period. And it's all, that's why you use punctuation in copy. It's to break up those pauses, so you're controlling the pace of how they're taking your words in. So that's like the kind of the layers. There's so many layers of copy that you use mind control with little subtle psychological tricks that you use, and that's one of them, is using punctuation to make them stop and take in what you just said.
I never knew that. I never, and as you were saying that, I'm going through my head, and so now what's going to happen is, right, every time
comma.
There's got to be a stop sign in my head that visibly picks up there. So, damn you, Laurie. Stop signs in my head.
And the same thing, Ty, with white space. Like, white space adds a graphical element to your copy, and it makes things pop out that wouldn't necessarily. So if there's a really important sentence, give it its own paragraph. It can just be floating in there in the white space, and people are going to notice that. That's why headlines and subheadlines work so well too.
Very smart. Very smart.
Yeah, you're in control. You have so much more control than you think. Wow.
It becomes fun, right? So just thinking about, like, if you listen to some of the stuff that she's saying there, right, with the floating sentence or giving it its own paragraph, like, that is just creatively fun, because it's all of the stuff that we were told not to do, and now you're like really saying to your English teacher, like, the hell with you, I'm doing it, and I'm making more money because I'm doing it, right? So all of the things you told me not to do are actually going to, you've been stifling my paycheck here for a while here.
That's right. Exactly.
So what do you think? So I'm thinking about bold type. I'm thinking about italics, right? So, or italicizing, right? I'm thinking about underlining. Where do those come into play with copywriting, and how can they be used?
Good question. That's a really good question. A lot of people have their own preferences. So that's with just formatting, let's call it. So italics, bold, doing something underlined or in all caps. That makes that word stand out. So parentheses, using things in parentheses also makes things stand out. By saying, this isn't important, don't look at this. This is in parentheses. We don't really need to read this, which means I'm going to read that. So it's another way to get people, to be drawn. So when I look at my copy after I'm done, if there's like no formatting, although, I do it as I go, but you can, let's say you don't, and then you have just everything is all regular type, and then you can see where you can bold certain phrases or letters, or maybe even an entire sentence that you really want to pop out. Same with italics, it does the same thing. And before you know it, you're going to have like a creative, a graphical document. Like, imagine looking at it from 30,000 feet where you can't read the words, but you see like white space, and you see, bold. Oh, that's interesting. So it adds a lot more depth and interest to the eye when you use formatting like that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even going to get into that, but it's a really good comment and a good tip. And the other tip is you don't want to overdo it, because too much formatting makes it all just kind of blend together.
Just a mess, right? And it doesn't.
It's a mess, right?
And out, yeah. So I guess
I have the thing. This is my personal preference.
Yeah.
I hate to underline things online because it looks like a hyperlink. So I won't use that in my documents of underlining unless that's what the client wants.
Right.
So I will, if I want something to pop out, I will either put it in all caps, like only one or two words, because that looks too sloppy, or I'll bold it usually, or sometimes I'll italicize it. It's funny, bolding and italics kind of do the same thing. So you just kind of see which you have more of, I guess, in your copy.
Very cool. Very cool. So when you first got started, and for the person that's thinking about just jumping into copywriting and they want to learn more, this is intriguing. What were some of the things that you did, like when you first got started? I know you talked about like studying John Cohen, Gary Halbert, right? Dan Kennedy. What were some of the other things that you did when you first got started? And what do you suggest for the person that's watching this or listening to this?
Well, that is a great question, because I didn't know who Gary Halbert was, or Dan Kennedy, or John Carlton when I first started, because it was all new to me. And so what I did was this client that had me write the autoresponders, I had him show me some sales copy online that was converting well, that was doing well, right? They were getting lots of money for the writing. And I looked at those web pages and I copied them by hand. And when you copy it by hand, you start to see this pattern. It's like seeing the skeleton of what's underneath. Mm-hmm. And it becomes very apparent, and you can never get rid of it. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. And I think that's been one of the secrets to my success, was doing that, because it's boring, right, to like copy somebody's, and it takes time, but it's effective, and it's it's cheap because all you have to do is find a good sales letter and copy it. But that's the key. It has to be a good sales letter. You don't want to teach yourself the wrong way. So I would look at my site at Red Hot Copy, or look at John Carlton's, Dan Kennedy, Gary Halbert, Gary Benzavinga, Armin Morin. Our friend Armin Morin does a really good job with his copy. He knows all the beats to hit, and you'll start seeing it's sort of like you'll have a headline, then you have a hook, which is what you have to get them to read the rest of it, and then you're going to have what Dan Kennedy calls problem, agitate, solve. You don't have to. This is just one style, but so Ty, you have a problem, whatever problem it is. That's why you're looking for a solution. Right. So I have the answer to it, but I'm going to remind you that you have this problem. So you identify that, oh, I need to read this copy. And so I'm going to say this is your problem. Oh, it's really terrible. I'm going to agitate it, make it worse. But the good news is I have the solution. And so that's just a human nature kind of formula that fits for everybody. If they're looking for a solution to something, you remind them that they have this problem, and that you can solve it, then they'll self-select to read your copy. But copying good sales copy, is
that works. That fits.
There's a saying, by the way. I just remembered. I haven't thought of the saying in years. It says, "If writers write, do copywriters copy?" And they do, because we model things that are working.
Right.
So not word for word, that's plagiarism, but you can absolutely model stuff that works.
You're developing that habit, and you're getting the wording and the psychology behind why they did this. And, it reminds me, when I first started learning to write copy, at the time I was a night owl. So I did like my most creative work at like 2 o'clock in the morning, right? 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I was doing exactly what you're talking about here. I would go in and I would model copy, and I would write it out by hand. I would have like a yellow, I don't have one here, legal pad or something.
Yes.
I'd look at the copy that's on a sales page or in a magazine, and I would go in and write it out. My wife thought I was nuts, right? I would do this on the floor. I'm sitting I'm laying on the carpet, yellow pad, pen, writing this out. I'm looking at the computer.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, what the hell is going on? 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And I'm saying to her, I'm writing out our kids' college tuition, right? Or I'm writing out that, our mortgage payment, or whatever it may be. And that was how I got to really understand copy and the psychology behind it, and why these great copywriters did this and did that and everything else. So now, it's something that you learn. Yes, there you go. So now I'm not so nuts.
Exactly.
So I love that. Laurie, you have given us a ton of great nuggets here. You've given us some amazing stuff. Like, you've given us a crash course on copy. I've purchased a ton of books on copywriting, and there's a lot of them that have not covered just some of the things that you've covered during this interview. So I want to thank you for that. Now,
good deal.
I know that there are people that are watching this that are saying, copy is great, but I need help still. I don't want to jump right into this thing. And I know that that's your area of expertise, right? So do you offer a service for authors and writers and publishers or anyone else that needs help with copy, or?
I do right now. I will tell you, I'm not the cheapest copywriter because I have been doing it for so long, but I'm very quick. So expect a premium price, I'm afraid, but you can look at, I do copy editing much cheaper. So the best way to me is when a client or potential client comes up to me and they've already written their first draft and they just want somebody to punch it up. And that's a lot more reasonable. And it also gets your DNA in the copy, because then it's got your stamp on it, because it's going to sound like you a little bit. And so that's my preferred path of working with me personally. But there are so many copywriters out there. You can still contact me. I have a lot of copywriter friends. Some are busier than others, and I can definitely try to connect you up. But don't be afraid to try it yourself. Like you said, Ty, it's actually fun if you come at it with that perspective. Like you're writing your house payment. I love that. That's great. It's like you're printing
right?
Money.
Yeah, it's motivating as well. So.
Exactly. So and of course you can hire people on Upwork or Guru and things like that. And I do know actually really good copywriters who, when have a dry spell, because it's feast or famine, it seems, when there's a dry spell, they may go on there. So you may get lucky and find somebody, but you really have to do your due diligence. So I'm going to really support you in writing your own copy so it sounds like you, and just really get out of your head and just give it a try. And then if you need a little more help, then contact me at redhotcopy.com and I can see what I can do for you. Or give you a reference or something, whatever you like.
Very, very cool. So I know in our closing, right, we're gonna close this out pretty shortly, but I want to ask you a question. What if someone's writing, if they had to go in and dive into the copy for any part of their book, whether it's the front copy, back copy, if it's a physical book, right, back copy, spine, if it's like their title, their book description, what would you say would be like the most important area for them to jump into first?
Wow, that's a tough one because there's so much copy involved. I would say that probably the back cover copy or the description that you use is probably the most important, because that's what they're going to see before they even see your book. And it's a secret is your book can be crap if your copy's good. That's not, you don't want it to.
I like that. Right? I gotta write that down. Your book could be crap if your copy is. That sounds like a Dan Kennedy-ism right there.
It does, doesn't it? No, it's me. But it's true. It's totally true. And
I'm not gonna write it down. I'm not gonna write it down because it's so good that I'm gonna end up saying it somewhere else, and then I'm gonna forget where I got it from, and then it's gonna make me seem like I'm the genius, and I'm gonna be like, oh yeah. And then,
say it. Maybe it'll become a thing, and I'll get credit for it somehow. Don't worry.
All right. Okay. We're pissing off the true authors here who are like, no, your book should not be crap. All right.
Okay, you're right. It should be a work of art. But you want to sell it.
We're just having some fun, guys. You guys know that I teach that your content should be high quality. But
of course,
this shows the importance of having equally high quality copy, right? So equally high quality copy and putting the time and the effort into it, and just not just going out and just write. You know, I see so many people that they'll put weeks and months and years into their books. And then when it comes to the description, they're writing it out in 30 minutes. Right? And the description is your sales force. Like that is what is going to sell your book. So you're putting 30 minutes into this, and then you're putting all of this into the book. Right? So now here's the thing. I know that you're offering like this pretty cool opportunity for free. I'm going to throw that out there to our group. Can you tell us about this? And please, I hope this is for free, because I would hate to put you on the spot if it was not. And
no, it is for free. It is for free.
Would say in my big mouth. I hope I didn't do that. So.
No, absolutely. So this is for your group. I just want to give back because I've learned so much in the Kindle cash flow group. And so what did I write? This was last night. So what did I say?
So I know we were talking about like your book description, your description for your book, like those first 3 to 5 lines there.
Exactly. So put that in on our group on Facebook, and we'll do like one thread so I can find them all. And I'll go in and I will critique your copy, edit your copy, and give you some pointers on how to make it much stronger. Because honestly, that's my favorite thing to do, is critiquing copy and like molding it and going, this is good, but this would make it so much better. And I'm really good at that. And so I'd like to offer you guys that service for free for, but you have to keep your description short. I'm giving you like like a boost, a little head start, and then you have to take the rest of it on your own. But I'm looking at 3 to 5 sentences. If it's more than that, I'm only going to help you with the first 3 to 5 sentences.
If it's more than that, she's going to do what I black out. I tell clients sometimes, listen, if you send me huge paragraphs, I totally black out. It's like the Men in Black, machine. And I don't even pay attention to the messages. I seriously say this. If your message to me on Skype or Facebook or email or text is more than 5 lines, something about my brain says I cannot read this. And
believe it. And you're not alone, but we're so busy. So you need to keep it concise.
So
it's a good extra.
I doubt if she's going to black out and not, pay attention, but just out of courtesy, right? She's offering this amazing service here. You're getting someone who has 2 decades of copywriting experience here. And she's offering we're not going to even go there because I'm throwing myself under. So you're getting just this expertise from someone who is gracious enough to go in and review your 3 to 5 sentences, right? You're not going to find anyone on the planet that's going to do it with this much skill and this much passion, as you can tell, right, in this interview here, and who's got this amazing smile here. So, Lorrie, I appreciate you coming in. How can they contact you? If someone wants to
go to my site at redhotcopy.com.
Okay.
And there's an email there, and I read all my own emails. I reply to all my own emails. I have an assistant, but I just always liked to have high contact with people who take the time to write to me.
Me too, yeah. I think that's important. They're giving you your time, you give it back. That's awesome. That's very cool. Yeah. One more reason why I like you there. So we're very similar to that. So folks, here's the thing. If you enjoyed this interview with Lorrie, right? If you want to learn more about copywriting, make sure you go in and you comment, you type in the words, more copywriting, please, right? More copywriting, please, if you want to learn more about copywriting. It's like the old Park Sausage commercial back in the day, more Park Sausage. Now I'm dating myself. And if you want us to get Lorrie back, right? You're going to go in and you're going to comment more Lorrie, please. So more, right? Is it Lorrie that I have right there? Because I've always called you.
Oh, is what now?
Am I pronouncing your name right?
You're totally, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
All right, gotcha. All right. Because I've always seen.
So my friends.
Lo.
My friends call me Lo. And it's funny because I've never really been a fan of my name, Lorrie, but it is my name. And so that's what I'm known, Lorrie Morgan is my copywriting name. It was Lorrie Morgan Ferrero. I don't like going there, but so if you look that up too, you'll see a ton of interviews and whatnot. But at any rate, like you'll see on my profile on Facebook, it says Lo, because I realize I'm meeting new people and I like them to call me Lo. So I'm just going to introduce myself as Lo. So either one works, but the Lorrie Morgan is how you'll find me or the country singer Lorrie Morgan online. Right.
Yeah, there you go. And I've always known you as Lo, so I just assumed that it was Lorrie, and then I found myself on this interview calling you Lorrie, and I'm like, holy crap, what if Lorrie is not her name? Let me just go back.
You're good.
All right, folks, so here's the thing. More copywriting if you want to learn more about copywriting, and then more Lorrie if you want us to get Lorrie back. We'd love to have you back for a second interview and possibly even a third interview. And then make sure you go in and check out her website. Her website is over at redhotcopy.com. Join the Facebook group, the Kindle Cashflow Facebook group. That is where you'll find Lorrie. She's highly active there. She's amazing there. She's always offering just a wealth of knowledge. So the Facebook group is over at kindlecashflow.com/Facebook. Reach out to Lorrie, but please be considerate of her time. If you're going to reach out to her, make sure that you are a serious student and you're going to take her time serious. Lorrie, with that said, greatly appreciate you. And hey guys, one last thing, you guys know that with our interviews and everything else, we're always giving out great prizes. So I just got a bunch of Amazon gift cards that are in the denominations of, my daughter's summer went screwed with these. So they're between $25 to $500. So you guys can get a chance to win some of these things here. So go in. How do you win? You go in and you comment on this interview and you let us know what was your biggest takeaway. Was it, using bullet points and benefit driven statements? Was it using, like just highlights to really make your copy stand out? Was it understanding more about your avatar or any of the other amazing things that Lorrie shared with us here? So make sure you go and comment, let us know what your biggest takeaway was, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of these gift cards from Amazon, of course, right? Because it's Amazon Kindle Publishing, in the denomination of $25 to $500. So for best comment, every so often, we don't just choose one winner. So you can go and you can comment now. We know that there's some people that will like comment immediately after this is released, and then there's some people who won't see it for like months or years down the line. So we always go in and randomly pick winners. So go ahead and make sure you comment. And Lorrie, this has been cool, really fun, very entertaining, and very educational here. So we've had what do we call this? We call that edutainment there, educational entertainment there. So we're definitely going to have you back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. This is great.